lesson, I want to show a rule about dividing fractions that you might have forgotten. But anyways, we spent time multiplying. Today we're going to divide. So the question is, how do you divide two fractions? Does anybody remember the rule for that? There's three words that a lot of teachers use when dividing by fractions. It's keep, change, flip. So what does that mean? You keep the first fraction, right? You change division to multiplication, and you flip the second. And so let me give you some examples with numbers, and then we'll do an example with variables. First of all, let's just do a whole number, 1 divided by 1/2. So what does keep, change, flip mean? You keep the first thing, if it's a fraction or a whole number, you change the division to multiplication, you flip the second fraction. So 1 divided by 1/2 becomes 1 times 2 over 1, which is 2. That's what keep, change, flip means. Let's look at another one. Let's say we had 3/4 divided by 5/4. Well, you would keep the 3/4. Okay, you wouldn't change anything about that. You would change the division and multiplication, and you would flip the second fraction to become 4 over 5. The 4's would cancel. You'd be left with 3/5. So we're going to apply that same concept when we divide an expression by another one, and as you can see, it's almost the same thing we've been doing. It only requires one more initial step, which is to basically flip that second fraction and change it to multiplication. So all that being said, let's look at our example today. We're only going to do one example because basically it's the same thing we've been doing. So we have y squared minus 5y plus 6 divided by y cubed. That fraction divided by y squared plus 3y minus 10 over 4y squared. So based on what I just told you, what are you going to do with this expression to turn to multiplication? Yep. So the 4y squared is going to go on top. This is going to go on bottom, and that will change to multiplication. I'll give you a second to copy that, and then we'll look at what that looks like. Okay. So notice that somebody yesterday in another class was we were doing keep, change, flip, and they were flipping the first. You do not flip the first one, okay? It stays the same. That's why it's called keep, change, flip. So anyway, we flipped the second one. We changed it to multiplication, and then let's talk about how would we factor this out, okay? Well, this is 3 terms, so X method. This is also 3 terms, so X method. Can you use the shortcut that I taught you?
No.
Yes, you can, because the leading coefficient is 1. So once you draw your x out, pretty much gives you the factorization. So the factorization of this is, what's your question? Okay, so yes, you can use the shortcut here if I went up too far. 1 times 6 on top, negative 5 on bottom, becomes negative 3 and negative 2. And so the factorization of this will be y minus 3, y minus 2, because that leading coefficient is 1. Same for this one. After you do the x method, the factorization will be y minus 5, y minus 2. I'm sorry, y plus 5. That's a plus. Y plus 5, y minus 2. And then from there, we're just going to cancel some stuff out. So here's the factorization. Y minus 3, y minus 2, y plus 5, y minus 2. Use the x method on both of them. So first of all, the y minus 2's will cancel from those factorizations. The second thing is you have 4y squared on top. You don't have to break it down this way. I was just doing this because it's been a while since we divided monomials. But just remember that 4y squared and y cubed, since you have a y cubed on the bottom, you can do 3 minus 2. You're just going to end up with 1y on the bottom. These two y's will cancel. So I was just breaking it down a little bit more. And once all of that stuff cancels, you're still going to have a 4 on top, and you're still going to have a y minus 3. On the bottom, you'll just have a single y and a y plus 5. Okay, we talked about this yesterday, whether or not to multiply it out I can tell you with the worksheets and stuff I'm giving you. Sure. The worksheets and stuff I'm giving you, their answer is factored. But, you know, I'll show you what it looks like if you multiply it out. And for this one, I would personally multiply out because then you're left with less terms. And that's typically how you decide whether or not to multiply.
How can you tell, though? How can you tell without multiplying it out if
Oh,
there's going to be less terms?
good question. So you have a 1 by 2, right?
Okay.
That's going to leave you with 2 terms instead of these 3 terms, 4y and minus 3. So just look at, if you have a 2 by 2,
It's going to be...
you actually end up with 3 terms because the 2 middle terms will combine. Beyond that, I don't think we're going to be doing like a 3 by 2 or anything. So it's pretty much going to be left to that. So normally you end up with less terms if you do multiply, but like I said, the key just doesn't have it that way. So anyway, for this one, the top would become 4y minus 12 if you multiplied it, and the bottom would become y squared plus 5y. So just be aware of what it would be like if you multiplied it out. We've already done that. We've already multiplied polynomials and stuff. But the key is going to look like this, okay? So that's pretty much all you need to know. Any other questions about this before I get you the worksheet?